our YouTube feed. Here we go. This is going to be a safer community. Starts with you. If you want to advance this video, go about 15 minutes. This is a soft pre-show that we're currently doing. We're going to invite people to come on and talk throughout this entire video. So we're going to put the StreamYard link out there for everyone to be able to use. I do warn you, we are having issues with weather above our head, so we could be losing also things drastically. If it looks a little dark now, it's because we're doing a pre-show vibe. I will turn it on and we will go firing up. I am Jackson Noyd Colvin. That's a Fight Club reference, by the way. About the fact that we are still not, we haven't heard back from TikTok just yet about our feed that's supposed to be going tonight, but they keep wanting me to monetize. So we'll see. How is everyone doing? Give me a thumbs up if you guys are hearing me okay. If there's any visual or audio issues, please let me know. Due to the weather above my head, today is definitely one of those days I can use it. DC Universe. I have a request. Okay, just for the record, having your camera off is perfectly fine. You can join us on the YouTube stage, or you can just watch from TikTok. TikTok's a little harder because of everything that's going on with us having a shadow ban currently and a strike. However, we should be going live at 6:45, but we are currently live on YouTube. So we also will have a secondary feed over on our Kink Advocate TikTok channel to make up for everything that we're going through. Alice is joining us. There we go.
Hello, hello.
Hold on, let's move this like that. There we go. So, like I was saying, I don't know if you heard me. It never gives the chime on the free version. So when you pay more for StreamYard, it literally gives a chime when someone comes in. But because we're on the cheap, it doesn't ever tell me you're there, so I have to keep looking.
I tried to send you a message on the one side of the two chats we have to let you know I'm backstage, but I feel like it's probably the same thing. It doesn't give you a chime, so it doesn't help that much more either.
Well, when you're not here, I also focus a little more on TikTok over to my shoulder. So,
makes sense.
Yeah. What I really love, by the way, guys, why we're doing especially the StreamYard, and understand, I've done hundreds of hours on StreamYard, and that's not an exaggeration. Go check out Comic Book Advocates. Not Comic, it's Comic Con now on YouTube. The Comic Con Online YouTube channel, you'll see hundreds of hours of footage, and I was on other shows. 2020, I spent a lot of time on camera. What's the YouTube? Kink Educator. This is just our pre-show right now for everyone wondering why the lights are off. I have people asking, so I mean, we'll see. Right now, fingers crossed on how this is going to go. I really don't know, because normally Alice knows that we would put up the TikTok so you guys could see the comments over on the TikTok as well. But we don't know where we're going live just yet. We're currently live on Kink Advocate. This is the pre-show. That's why everything's dark. I'll turn everything on when the pre-show is kind of over. Normally it would be a lot more light, but because, like I said, we have bad weather above our head tonight. Of course, it's always Wednesday, Alice. Always fucking Wednesday.
It really is, or at least it really feels that way.
I'm telling you, man. We had 1 week where it wasn't Wednesday. It was sunny and hot though, but I mean, we need some storms, but like not during this time period. Come on, everyone's getting home now. No one wants their internet cut off. So we'll see what goes on tonight. I don't know. We are gonna have a themed after show where we're going to talk about, Alice and me have kind of been going back and forth on this. It's no bad blood. I just don't understand it. So for those of you tuning into YouTube, know at the end of the show tonight, we're going to be talking about the oddity of, in my mind, I consider this an oddity. Why would a top need a stage door? And we're going to talk about that later. So stay tuned. This program will kick off as it's supposed to. This is the pre-show. YouTube gets a pre-show and an after show. It's because we can communicate in a much better way here on YouTube. So please join us on the YouTube channel after TikTok goes off air tonight. And it will be going off around 7:30. So we have about 10 minutes. Let's see what the YouTube's telling. I mean, the TikTok over in Kink Educator's saying. And anyone can be a guest tonight on StreamYard. We do StreamYard because the controls are so much better than on TikTok. TikTok is really hard to kick someone out. It's not an easy button. On StreamYard, I can kick anyone out for any second I want to.
Yeah, it is really nice how that's set up like that.
So we got some comments over here. Sometimes it's good to be in the darkness and encourage more viewers to share. I don't know why it always says that. Are you hearing the background, or is that just me?
There's a little bit of feedback. It's not nearly as bad as I usually get with TikTok, but I can hear a little feedback.
It's nothing to do with that. Hold on. Let me remove myself and come back in. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going behind backstage. All right. I'm back. Did that do it? Sometimes it just happens randomly on StreamYard. It sounds like we got rid of it, but you muted, so I don't know if that unmute so we can just test this.
Yeah, let's see how this goes. Is it any better?
It's better so far. Yeah. I hear a little bit of myself, but I was hearing you as a kind of thing. Are you watching it on another channel, or is it here?
No, I just have it up where I normally use StreamYard from.
All right. Well, I have to keep it loud. I'll try to be mindful of muting. So I think it's my mic. Try talking when I'm muted.
All right, let's see. Yeah, I think it's the feedback loop into your mic, possibly. Do you have a secondary mic you use?
No, normally this isn't a problem, but 1 in 100 times it is. So I'm going to back completely out. It won't kick you out. I'll be right back in.
Okay. And in the meantime, we'll wait.
And I'm back. Let's see. Did that get rid of the issue?
It sounds better so far.
All right. We'll try it this way. Good. All right. So let's see. TikTok. So it says I can go live, but I'm expecting the suspension to still be there. Yeah. So we're suspended until today at 46. Now, I don't know. We're scheduled to go live here in 5 minutes. Now, it's so fucked up because I think they deleted it 15 minutes, and we can't go live until 16 minutes after the show's supposed to start. But we will on time here, so that means we'll be going live with the conversation in 5 minutes. If you guys have questions, feel free to start putting them up. The better place to get your questions answered today, especially, will be on the YouTube. That's Kink Educator. Feel free to be part of it. We are talking to a very limited audience here on Kink Advocate, which also means that if we're going to go live, we might actually literally keep this live going and just use another thing. And I might move you guys to watch what's going on behind me. So we'll let the Kink Advocate kind of be up here off screen, kind of watching us, and I'll put our normal audience where Kink Advocate is right now. So what the different kind of behind the scenes you guys would see would be this. So I won't see your questions if it's going to be like this, because I'll be using my other thing. You guys are seeing how dirty of a desk I have right now, but there's not much to do about that. It's just
what happens when you're trying to get 3 devices going for streaming?
Yeah, I rarely try to do this because it's such a pain in the ass sometimes. But,
yeah, understandable.
We'll split the Kink. I think once we go to, if we get less than 3 people or 4 people on Kink Advocate, if we have Kink Educator going, we'll just tell everyone on Kink Advocate to jump over to Kink Educator.
Okay.
That channel's still building itself, and we don't have a huge audience.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
We're going to prep ourselves here. Now, we can bring up, and I'm going to try to do it before we have to go live. We have 3 minutes. So generally, I try to have Kink Educator showing. So we'll go to YouTube. No, I mean, sorry, TikTok. And we'll try to bring up this current feed, and then I'll see. I'm literally looking at the one screen to see what happens. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go over to Kink Advocate. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
All right, we're just going to see what happens because right now it's muted. I'm pretty sure, which is good.
Okay.
Let's see. What we did last time is we just muted. There we go. It's muted. Okay. So I'm going to be able to show you guys the view currently of Kink Advocate. So here on the YouTube version. So that should have come up. There we go. So that's the literal view right now that our Kink Advocate audience is having. That's what they're seeing right now. It's not the best view in the world, but it gives us something. I can see them, which is good. They can see everything I'm doing on my desk, though, so I have to be very careful of what's open on my desk while we're live.
Yes, you do.
There's a theater mode. I didn't even know that. It's picture in picture. Not that I mean picture in picture. There is a theater mode. It's kind of interesting. All right, so if anyone has any questions, now is the time. We're going to roll though to start the show. All right, so I'm going to bring up our image file. Why is it not showing? Always when I'm trying to do something, we have these issues. I did have it open too. Damn it. I hate when you set something up. I mean, this is like before we go live, right?
Yeah, and then it doesn't work even though you had prepped for it.
All right, so let's do this. I think we're literally just down to the wire here, but I think I can make it work. Here we go. There it is. All right. So this is the official starting point of the show. We still can't go live, but I'm going to cut here and just start the show. So here we go. Welcome to A Safer Community. Starts with you. Let's turn on the lights and get this party started. Echo live on. Look at that. Not bad, right? So let's talk about a safer community. I am excited to talk to you all about it. I hope we have some comments coming in from our different live streams. We're currently live on TikTok, obviously. We're live on YouTube to those who we're talking to. And we might be live on a different TikTok channel in just a few minutes. So stay tuned. Alice, I just did this in a live capacity. I've already talked about it. What are some of the things you think would make a better community before I start chiming in with some notes?
I think one of the biggest things for me is transparency, and that any kind of rules or guidelines are stated. I guess here's the real question. Are you thinking more in bubble communities or our community as a whole across like the whole country?
That's an interesting question. And my question to you is there really a difference? Should there be a difference? See, in my mind, the behavior and how they act should be the same in either one, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, and yeah, I do agree with that. When we're focusing on what you should be doing to make it safe, then yeah, it's one and the same.
It can't be just about me. It can't just be what I'm doing. This has to be a bigger conversation that includes every corner of our community. If one part of the community is unsafe, then our community is unsafe. And that is the mentality we have to have. How many times on TikTok have you seen me have to respond to people and be like, well, that's great that your small little 10-person community has no issues. That's not helping because you're saying contrary things to what we're trying to teach currently and getting in ways for the bigger conversation. It's safe here with me and my 5 friends that come over to my house and talk about kink. I'm talking about the overall kink community. I'm not trying to shame anyone. I'm so happy they're good spots. Obviously, we want that. But, like, we can't just focus on the one place where it's working. That's not fair. That's not community. That is the opposite of community. That's cool club table stuff that we don't want to engage in and be part of.
Well, and I think that's kind of, if you put it like you said, that's kind of the starting point. You have to have an acknowledgement that your experience is not everyone's experience. The way your little specific group does it isn't the way every other group does it. And there's two reasons to accept and kind of state that when you're sharing things, because one, if you don't, you're giving people the false assumption that maybe this is how it is everywhere. First issue. Second issue, that, or the other reason to do it, is to make people aware of, this is something you maybe should look for being done in other areas. And if it's not, then that's an unsafe pocket of the community.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I mean, I think that's the big thing we do. Well, not in my community. We're all in the same community. And that's another teaching moment, is that if it's not all, then we have a problem and we need to speak on that. You could say in this slice of the community, we're not currently experiencing problems, but these are real issues in the community. That is being part of the community and being honest with it.
Well, and I think that's such an important difference with how much things have shifted to an online and virtual space. 20, 30 years ago, it wasn't as big of an issue because not so much was being done or kind of started from a place of a virtual or online space, right? You didn't, 20 years ago, yes, FetLife was there, but you didn't, how do I explain it? The virtual side of it just wasn't as big. It was still very much based on being there in person, so issues that affected one specific community didn't propagate to cause problems as quickly as it does now that we have the tool of the internet to spread it.
You just have to make sure that they see me on this screen every so often or they'll cut us off. Absolutely true. And to answer the first question, John asks, are we allowed to ask questions on the YouTube chat live? Absolutely. Not just that, but for this event, I'm going to try to bring over the questions from TikTok so we can actually see them on screen and directly address them. I'm only bringing over comments, guys, that are real comments or real questions. If you guys are side chatting, we're not going to bring that up on YouTube. I am going to use everyone's name and copy and paste, but it will be on YouTube. So good luck trying to find that on YouTube. These names won't be the same. And it's not clickable or linkable because I'm copy and pasting across the board. So you guys are giving me double work by not showing up on the YouTube. Lilith asked, number 2, why don't people do proper etiquette with training the sub anymore? That's an interesting question. I'm going to put a pin in right now, and we're going to dive right back into it, because that's not as much community as much as it is power exchange. But we will get to it, Lilith, in a few minutes. What I want to talk about is, Thea's, our community is really small where I am. There's still problems. So size doesn't mean anything when it comes to whether you're going to have issues or not. And Thea went on to go, sounds like there's no war in, I don't know what that word is, Alice. Can you see it?
I can, and it's a typo in my book.
Okay, I don't know what that is. I copied and pasted.
Oh, I get it. It's a reference. It's supposed to be boss and say. It's a reference to a cartoon. And basically what she's saying is it sounds like propaganda. Go
ahead.
I think what they're getting at is trying to say, like, oh, well, everything's fine in my neck of the kinky neighborhood. Sounds like propaganda.
Got you. Lilith says, I wish it wouldn't do that. I don't know what you're referring to, Lilith. Just please drop us a little bit of a context clue on what it's doing. We're going to quickly address Lilith's original question right now. And John, I saw you just made one, so we're going to get to you in just a moment. But Lilith says, and we're going to take a quick, because we're going to try to switch into our normal account in just seconds on Kink Educator. Well, 8 minutes to be exact. We're going to try. So Lilith says, why don't people do proper etiquette with training the sub anymore? The big problem, Lilith, is what's proper etiquette? What does that even mean? Who's etiquette? What etiquette? That's more of a leather thing. And I'm not trying to come down on you at all. By the way, don't take this disparagingly. It's a good question, and I appreciate you asking it. But the big problem is who's proper etiquette. Like, leather made a lot of people fit a die cast, and people don't fit die casts, if that makes sense. You are an individual. There is leather a lot of times fails when people try to force people into a role they're not ready for. And different stages in different parts of your life. A mother who's having to get up at 3 a.m. isn't going to want to meet you at the door naked after spending a day taking care of an infant. You have to be human. We're not plastic pieces. I do think, to answer your question, some people still follow an etiquette, but in a busier life and in a time frame where both people are generally working, even in a household, I don't see there being a lot of time for the proper etiquette that maybe you're thinking of from back in the day.
Well, and if I'm being honest, I think I understand the sentiment, but there's a whole lot of people who don't identify as bottoms or submissives. So who teaches them etiquette?
Yeah, that's a good point. So we're gonna go. I don't know if Johnny's thing will come fully on this. Yeah, it did. Okay. So John, not Johnny, said, so I've had the FET app for a few weeks. I guess my question is, how do I know people will be who?
That's a different dating app, just so you know.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I get what I know. They don't mean FET Life. FET Life doesn't have an app. They famously had their app that was only in Android stores, ripped away from them 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of what they're asking about. I'm trying to answer this. How do I know people would actually be willing to meet and they aren't just exploiting you for pictures? Happened 2 out of 2 times. You don't. Welcome to dating apps. I know you were probably looking for a much better answer than that. There just isn't one. Dating apps, if someone's asking you for money or trying to get you to join their OnlyFans because they're trying to just establish something and all you have to do is donate $1, it's a scam. I don't do any dating apps. I have this weird twisted thought in my mind that dating apps go against the natural flow of life, and dating apps and even social media is ruining the way we're supposed to naturally connect with people. I know it sounds awkward, the guy on TikTok giving kink education. It's not going away, so I try to give education to make people smarter, and hopefully I'm not ruining the whole universe. We'll find out in a few weeks. Lord knows we're closer and closer to the doomsday clock every day. Any other thoughts on the dating apps? Because that's really what this is about.
I think I'd just say this isn't exclusively a kinky app problem. This is on all dating apps, regardless of the target audience for that app.
And understand, as a gender question, not a gender blaming moment. A woman joins an app, she gets 300 likes within hours. The more attractive, the more they get. It's just the way of life, right? And men are visual people. So they see a picture, they like a person, they don't bother reading the bio. They complain, the men do, I'll give you that. So this woman now is sorting through 300 people. It's overwhelming to them. And for men, we barely get matched with. And that's generally because, honestly, we're probably taking horrible pictures. We are showing this off, that's hard. How do you sell this, you know? And then the way we word things, what do you do for fun? Relax, watch TV. Some of it's also what we put out there, but it's not your fault. Everyone complains about dating apps. No one's happy with it. If there was a good dating app, we'd all be using it. I used the dating app. I got married and divorced. So that tells you all you need to know about my thoughts on dating apps. Daddy Warshak. You mean Warshak, don't you? I'm assuming that's Warshak, the comic book reference. The FET app isn't the same.
I say go.
Go ahead.
I was going to say go with Rorschach unless they correct it. Rock Shock. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. FET is FET Life is community. FET is Kinky Tinder. That's actually pretty apropos. John says, I thought the same company made both. That's what I heard. No, absolutely not true. Fet's been around for a while. It used to be fetish.com, and I believe they still own fetish.com, and they made it into an app that was fet.com. So there is a big difference. Not that either one are too wonderful on their own. We do have a person who frequents us. I don't remember the name of it. Maybe Alice does. That says they're building the alternative that we've always wanted from FetLife. We'll see. I think they capitalized on people calling FetLife Fet for short. I'm sure you're probably actually right with that, Shock. And understand I'm not calling you daddy more than once, so you haven't earned it from me.
Yeah. I put money on the fact that they're capitalizing on that for sure.
Oh, certainly. No, definitely not the same. And then John said, oh, okay, appreciate it. I have both. Let's see. Here we go. They don't ask for money or ask me to buy OnlyFans. Both of them came up with an excuse as to why they didn't want to meet anyone. LOL, and then blocked me. Yeah, they were waiting to do something. You were just asking too many questions they couldn't answer. Oh, for Protector and Guardian. I don't know why I couldn't pronounce Guardian suddenly.
Yeah.
It was no, I know. Okay. Rock Shock. I'm not allowed to say that you were at my last community event. That's kind of one of those rules. Like, even if I know who you are and you show up on social media, our lifestyle dictates I don't point that out because we're not in our slice of the community. I know who you are, I assure you. I'm happy you're here even. But I can't call out my people in my community, my slice of the community, because then it's kind of like almost, you're
breaking the anonymity, like unofficial agreement, basically.
Yeah, for all of you watching, if I ever act like I don't know you, it's showing respect. I don't know who saw my FetLife today, but I had complained on my FetLife today that people are now coming up to me in public.
I saw that.
When I'm with people. And you have to understand, sometimes I'm doing things with autistic awareness. I try to do things with schools. I have my hat in a bunch of things. And I'm not ashamed of who I am. But I also am not going to shove it in someone's face. I don't want someone coming up to me, oh, man, I saw you doing that scene. Oh, that was crazy. I didn't know that was legal. I don't want you telling me. I want you telling me that, but not in that context. I also don't want you coming up to me while my kids around me. And I do want to stress, and this doesn't go to Rock Shock, because I know Rock Shock. And Rock Shock I've met in person, that's a little different. So I'm not even talking about Rock Shock. Like, if Rock Shock gave me a nod, it'd be perfectly acceptable. I'd be like, yeah. And I'd even have no problem with them coming up to me 90% of the time. And I avoid going up to anyone because sometimes I will be wearing a FreeHugsandSpanks shirt or just my tattoos that are showing. I have an Aftercare Bear. Some people don't really know that one. But also I have a naked tattoo on my leg. And if you're with your family, it might be bad for you, not me. So I'm very respectful. I have left events when I've been outed for the comic books because I also make children comic books. So, and if you come up to me when my son is with me, and my son's met a lot of people from the lifestyle, so I'm not ashamed of it. But if you come up, my son comes up, he's going to get curious. How do I know that person? And I don't want on the spot you have to lie. Now, a lot of times I tell my son, this is someone who is daddy's friend, and we talk about adult things that you're not old enough to talk about yet. And that's it. And my son knows to back off because he's gone to Comic Cons with me, and I have a giant FreeHugsandSpanks sign. All right.
And I was going to bring us back. The bottom line is that's a key component of being a safer member of the community. When in doubt, you say nothing. And I always say, if you haven't gotten the explicit communication from that person, the explicit consent that you can approach them in public, just don't. Ask them about it later when you have the time in a private setting.
Yeah, so I appreciate you, and you're far enough, like, I'm not giving out too much. You just don't live close enough that I think it would be an issue for you. But, like, yeah, I know all of you coming from my FetLife's friends list. Now, if you say, hey, Rob, what's up? I saw you last week. I'll be like, hey, what's going on? And I'm waiting for the invite to the conversation, which you gave me, which is why we're talking as if I know you. But if you had never said that, I would be like, oh, you, Mr. Rock Shock, how are you? I've never met you, not a day in my life, because that's what we're supposed to do. That's just the the standard thing. And that's a community thing. And it's good that we brought it up because people are now going to realize I knew you the whole time and I acted like I didn't even know how to pronounce your name. And I didn't, reading it out loud. But the minute you put rock shock, I remember you telling me that. And I was like, but I didn't say that, right, Elsie? I did good. I passed the test.
Yep.
TikTok's not passing the test right now. They said that we would be able to go live now, and we're not getting access, but I'm reloading the app. Still trying. Still trying. But we'll go on to our next comment. You mind reading it out while I deal with this?
No. Sorry for the questions, but also, is there a way on FetLife to filter a specific kink or type of person in the scenario? No, because it is not a dating app. It is not set up for you to hunt for people on FetLife. That's not the purpose of that app. So they've actually specifically not allowed that capability. It's one of the few safety features I really applaud them for having put in place, that you can't filter for people.
I don't know how to answer this. You've put me in a pickle. Because there is a way to filter for this. It's just, I don't know if I want to tell anyone because, and let me tell you, FetLife was a dating app, dating alternative, then wasn't a dating app, and now kind of plays out the whole thing. Really, what it is, and hold on, we're being joined by Kink Educator for the first time. And I have to say something that could get us in trouble over on the TikTok. So I'm just going to mute you guys for a minute. I'll be right back. FetLife is an OnlyFans basically advertising system. And I can't say that on Kink Educator. We'll see if we get in trouble over here. Hi, we're back. Just telling something that TikTok wouldn't want me to tell all of you fun people. Hi. So we're live on everything now. But I don't have, well, I could go live on here on Comic Con, but I don't think that's a good way. But no, do not use FetLife as a dating app. It's really not meant to be that. You're going to piss people off and you're going to get a bad reputation. Use it to find events, to learn to join the community. When you join the community, I'm going to tell everyone, here's a big community little tidbit. Join to be part of the community. Finding someone will come later. And I'm being dead ass serious about that. If you join the community of anything and you suddenly are using it simply to find your next partner, and even if you're a wonderful person, people are going to smell that. And that's a bad smell. And we don't want that. And there are a lot of people, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people who join FetLife, find a partner, and disappear. We've talked about it multiple times on this channel. It's why we're having the conversation tonight. Because I don't know if you guys know this about an iceberg, the thing that sunk the Titanic. So this is an iceberg, and I'm going to put it up here on my little pad. I'm a horrible artist. See that triangle? We're going to pretend that's an iceberg. So now I'm going to make an orange thing, and I'm going to show you the amount of water. So everything under this orange line that I'm making is under the water. Everything you see on top is what you see with your naked eye. There's a representation here for this. This part is community. This is lifestyle. The entire iceberg is lifestyle. In other words, 10 to 15% of people are in the community regularly. A lot of people come in and out of the community for 3 solid reasons that I've done. And please, anyone call me out if you disagree with me. And we're going to get Kink Educator up on our screen in just a minute so we can get all your comments from you wonderful people. I'm gonna be tasking my computer. It's gonna get so mad at me right now. As a matter of fact, everyone on Kink Advocate, please bring over your comments to Kink Educator and join us on the Kink Educator as we're live and we could use the extra energy over there. So if you're gonna be on a way of talking, either join us on the YouTube or the Kink Educator if you're TikTok to ask questions. If you're on Kink Advocate, just hanging out, that's fine. So really quickly, let me just, someone just said, yep, 1,000. And Lilith says, I didn't say those titles. And I don't know what that was about. Lilith, come over to Kink Educator and inform me what you mean by that. Sorry, it's a little iffy, but we're live still, so we must have done something right. But yeah, what do you think?
I'm right there with you. Of everybody that's like ever goes into the community, about 10 to 15% are just constantly there for the community. A lot of people come in and out, like you said, as well. And
go ahead.
Come in and out as well. But that's where, like you said, the community is also like the top 15, it's not even the top, it's 15-20% of the kinky experience. So much more of it is not within the community itself. That's where you're going with your iceberg.
And the three reasons they're not in the community, number one, is they're just looking for a partner. They get a partner and they go. That's it. They're out the door. They're done. The second reason they're in community is they're honestly looking for education. They're looking to get to know things. They want to learn. So they're there for an educational purpose. And the third, and once they get the education, they leave. And the third reason that these people come and go so much is, this is the big one, the creep factor, the ick factor, and the abuse factor. Imagine joining a community that is heavy on consent, and you find out that all these people have been abused and taken advantage of, and you find out that the person now presenting this, now teaching this, and now running this event is one of those consent violators that's not being dealt with. You're not going to come back. That is the harsh reality of what is really going on. And I mean, that's part of the conversation tonight. It's very much, you don't have to say my bad, John. You don't understand. You're asking questions. I love that. You are you're doing everything right. You come here, you ask the question.
Yeah, that's something you wouldn't know if you didn't ask, right? Because almost every other app would have that feature.
Yeah, yeah. So again, for those joining us over here on the Kink Educator, we're going to be taking your comments and putting them into our YouTube channel and showing it there. So just be aware of that. If you don't want your name put, you just put for me. Don't add my name, and we'll keep your name out of your comment. We won't mention it on air. And I cannot even pronounce this name. I'm going to show it to everyone on YouTube right now. Does anyone know how to? You're an author, I know that, but both of those are not in my wheelhouse.
I know the second one is Lunas. I do not know. I'm terrible with pronunciations.
Leora?
Is it Laura?
I would have said Leora. Could be Laura. So Laura Lunas says number 6, and I think number 6 is part of their name, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been in the community since 2012 and have seen a lot of people come and go. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because I said it when I had a consent violator problem and the person wasn't being held accountable. A lot of people sat back and was like, oh, just give it a few years. They'll go away. That's how it goes. And like a bad penny, they'll come back in a few years when everyone forgets who they are, because that's community. People come and go so much in communities. And it's funny because I can go back to New York City and I know people in there for 20 years now. Every time I go home, I have conversations with people I know now 20 years. People ask about my kid, because I really got to know them. But like in Florida, in smaller branches, because so many people get pissed off, the big difference in New York is people just go to different play parties. They don't disappear because it's not rah community like it is in these smaller communities. And let me tell you, one of the most dangerous things is when a community becomes a cult. And that is a real scary moment. And as a matter of fact, we had some topics that we can go over for the rest of the program now that we got the whole family together. So keep it going with your comments. We can see them on the screen. I think you can see them a little bit on the screen. Trying to make it bigger, but it really doesn't work too well for what we're trying to do. But yeah, don't even apologize. You ask. This is the place to ask all those questions. This is where we learn from each other. So you're doing great. Let's see. I went to go to get and couldn't get my conversation without 30 guys hitting on me, said Lilith in our other space.
I'm going to assume get is an autocorrect from the word fet.
Oh, okay. I read that literally line for line. Sorry about that. Yeah. That's Fet Life, and it's very appropriate when you're having things like advertisement for adult sex. What do we really expect?
Yeah.
you're kind of drawing an audience. We've talked about how we had a literal cool about how problematic that life has really become, and how dangerous it is for just us, the white van parties that they have, where no one knows what's really going on, and it's being hidden behind people's back, and how toxic that is. Also, I just wanted to say this. For me, one of the safest things I see in a community has to always be the married couples showing up at events. The people who aren't looking, who are just there to have conversations and really talk about how we do the things we do. I love going to places like that because it's not going to be creepy. There's not going to be a dude shooting me evil looks because I'm talking to someone who's attractive in the room. You know, it's not a testosterone thing. And a lot of times when you see a lot of coupled up people are on better behavior, I find. It's got to be some sort of, you know, more of them than me. I can't divide and conquer. But, like, I've been to events where I've been, what's that?
I was going to say, I feel like when you go to events where there's a lot of couples, it also slightly lowers the meat market feel of it, because now you don't know who's in a couple and who's not. So if you're just coming in looking for a new partner and like that's your sole goal, or worse, just a hookup, you don't last long because you can't tell who's already coupled and going to be offended, and the couples often sniff that out quickly, and yeah, it doesn't go well.
Yeah, and so I'm looking up some of the topics that we had for our safe munch. We called it a safe munch, so we were talking about grooming. Grooming's a real thing. We had just talked about this. Oh, perfect timing, Jordan, ring it in.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do if the only munch you can get to is TNG and you're over 35? You start your own. Honestly, it's what I did. There's no law. There's no permits. There's no licenses. You can do it from a Panera Bread to a bar to, you know, an outside venue in your local area. You don't have to tell me where you are. That's actually probably better in this day and age, not to for at least another 3.5 years. But we can certainly start our own munches, and it happens. It's not a bad thing for people to try to start munches. Start them small at a Starbucks meet and greet. Real simple. Don't offer to cure cancer. Just offer to have conversations. See who shows up. It's a great way to build your reputation. It's a great way to show who you are. It's a great way to meet new people. It's going to take 6 months to a year, but you're going to really have an experience. And grooming comes from isolation, where events literally start to do things like pick on the new people, where events are starting to, oh, well, we're vetting, but only if you're a hot young woman do you get vetted immediately. Everyone else needs to be on a 6-month period. That's grooming. Listen for the grooming sounds. They're there. You know, like, oh, all these wonderful sluts here. That's bad terminology. That's icky. Call people out on it too. If you're offended, raise your hand at the event and go, excuse me, can we not do that? And if anyone goes, oh, come on, you have to not be so serious here. No, I don't. I'm in public at an event that you didn't say I'd have to sit through language that is offensive. Just because you think calling someone's a slut don't mean I want to be referred to as a slut. And there has to be more deeper conversations like that. Am I right?
You are. And there's another kind of grooming that I also want to point out. If every time somebody brings a concern to the people organizing that event, they suddenly are no longer invited, that's also grooming in the sense of grooming for their cult. If they're only going to accept people who want to follow their way, they're not looking for community, they're looking for an echo chamber.
And it's so true. You know what separates a cult from a community? Someone calling themselves your leader a lot of times. Someone just being the one who gets to decide all the things. In my community, we've had issues come up, and we've dealt with it as a community. We've had conversations. A couple of the first meetings I had is, how do we handle this? How would everyone like to see me handle this? How does everyone want to handle this? And those are the conversations you want. I get the TNG thing, but that's also a good thing. That means that your area has people interested in kink already. You just build something. And I will say this, TNG parties, just to touch on this, and this is a grooming moment. If you have a party that's been, an event that's a munch that's been a TNG, and you get wind that they suddenly are allowing 40-year-olds at their party, run. That is not a TNG. That's a grooming farm. What they're doing is getting young people prepared and only allowing the right 40-year-olds or the right over 30s in. The ones that are their friends that won't call the police. Please be very careful.
Yeah. And that is a common tactic. It's a TNG munch to bring in young folks, and then you find out that the person running the TNG has a 40-something-year-old partner that they want to allow at the parties because it's my partner, but no one else can bring their over 35 partner.
And that usually
happens. If it feels sus, it probably is.
And that's something that usually happens at the first play party where they have, oh, you guys all met this person. They're chill. Let's bring them to every event now. And look, I'm 40-ish. I don't think I should be at a TNG. The only time I should be at a TNG is education. And TNG should be at least, in my opinion, when TNG was a thing back in the day, it was 30 and under. Then they pushed it to 35. I feel like you're already just losing the thread. You know, are you TNG anymore? No. I think 30 is when you stop blaming your parents and you start taking accountability for yourself. Sorry, not sorry. And we have a comment here. And this comment, by the way, I just want to get this right because it got cut off during the copy and paste option. I just want to make sure we have everything. Okay. I have to go to work. I sent a follow, says Leorna Lunis, and I love what you're doing here. Would love to join you live. We'll be here the next time you want to do it. And they are the ones who gave us this comment of, I was a server for a kink gathering for 10 years. Consent violations nearly ruined it. And that's so sad to hear. And it always is that. And it's not the consent violation that ruins it, ladies and gentlemen. It is how the quote unquote community deals with it that ruins the community. I cannot stress that to you all more, because the minute you say, well, it's not really a community matter, you just said that you're not running a community, you're running a cult or a cool kids hangout, and you are somehow gatekeeping. There's a difference between keeping a community safe, which is safekeeping, and gatekeeping. And gatekeeping like that, it's predatory and it is grooming. Anything to add, Alice?
No, it's why it's so important to be aware, and as crappy as it is, try and look for other reasons behind what it is people are doing. I hate to say be conspiracy theorists with that, but ask the questions. Well, why is that the rule that your specific group has in place? Or why do you feel it's okay for your partner to come when mine, who's also over the TNG, can't? Ask questions. How they respond will tell you a lot.
Okay. I do want to say on our other channel, we got Thea saying yes 1000, but Thea's joining us here, so Thea can ask and talk to us here. But I did see that Rosie's in here. Rosie, we're over on YouTube if you want to join us there, Kink Educator. That's why I keep looking this way. And you said, oh, hey, yes, having a group of people is so much better. We have a local TNG, and then Market is the next age up. I've never heard of that. I'll be honest, separate parties, that part. I don't believe in separating your community, believe it or not. I think we lose a lot when we start to divide ourselves up into little packets. I think there are certain ones. TNG I can see. I will say TNG I do think has a place, but me and Alice have spoken about this. I think a TNG should happen the same time as the major munch, like a half an hour before, an hour before.
Yeah.
So people can
It has to be an additional munch to the no age limits munch. You need the exposure to everyone. You find yourself in an echo chamber, and we've talked about this before. TNGs do have their place, but if all it is a TNG with no one else, you're going to lose access to a lot of valuable knowledge and possibly experience. Now, age doesn't necessarily equate to experience. That's a key thing to understand. But by excluding everybody over a certain age, you're inherently only going to have people that are on the earlier or newer end of their kink journey. Because you've just basically clipped off anybody who would be, you know, in year, what would that be? 35 would basically be anybody who's made it over, I want to say 15 years, they're clipped. And that's assuming they joined at 18, which some do, but a lot don't.
So I got just an odd question, and we'll move on this. Imagine if now we did event parties based on experience. Imagine how much that would change, or even meetups. Like if you're new, that's something we should talk about. Like, because a lot of times, 90% of our problems come from new people not being educated. And I do think a lot of community slices, when they start getting bigger and start having these parties, have the responsibility where you almost have to have a, hey, if you didn't get cleared for this, you don't come to the party. You don't get to be at the cookout if you don't understand the menu and the ingredients, you know?
I think that'd be awesome.
No reasons.
Yeah. I think if you limit it by experience, I mean, it's hard. How do you measure if you meet your experience as this tall quota or not, right? But I honestly, to some extent, I like the idea because not. I can see already how this would go bad, but from the idea that when you have like the newer folk munch, you can go over a lot of that 101 and do it more frequently that your person who's been there for 10 years may not still need.
See, I said experience, not time in.
Well, experience. 10 years of experience, okay?
No, what I'm saying is experience, we can actually tell. Like if you have smart enough people in the room, oh, you do suspension? What's the first thing you're supposed to warn a person about suspension? If they can't answer that, they out themselves.
Yeah.
I do think that you can judge experience. And remember, someone who's been around 10 years that thinks they have experience might not have ever gone through
exactly.
Know things. So there'd be a filtering process. That's when you build a good community, a solid community. People do take the time to talk to someone. And I've heard people be like, oh, I go sit down and have coffee with them. It's not a horrible idea, but I would rather have a conversation with them over text before I waste my time meeting a person. Because a lot of times I can ask 10 questions, and within 10 questions, they're going to want to go away if they're not who they say they are, because they're going to already be exposed. We don't do that with CCFL right now because we're not having play parties. CCFL, which is the slice of the community I run, starts having a play party. To gain access to that, a lot of people will be sitting down with me. Even people I know, to make sure they actually know how to behave themselves in a space. How many times have you guys gone out drinking with someone and they suddenly act like a total and complete asshole?
Not even the drinking part. I've gone to enough parties where people don't know how to act that went through a 101 in a, play space etiquette class, and they still don't know how to act.
Okay, I'm just quickly, we are Kink Educator over on YouTube. I am going to kick out of this particular stream just because I don't want to add to it, and there's only 2 of you watching. Please join us over on, plus you're about to hit an hour. Join us over on Kink Educator on TikTok if you want to continue watching on TikTok. And if you want to go to YouTube, same name, Kink Educator. We'll see you over there. For 1 hour, thank you for joining us over here on Kink Advocate. I didn't have time to do the whole end. I think we actually were really close to it not being a downloadable video. Not that I necessarily need it, but it's good to have extra content to earn things.
Yeah.
So here we go. Comment. Caffeinated Shenanigans says, more relaxed environment when there's mostly paired up people. It feels less like a marketplace. Not just a marketplace, but it also feels like people are watching just to watch. There's a little more of a thoughtfulness on it. It's not that shy, ooh, they're cute, oh, maybe they're single. It's more like the couples are looking at you. When I first joined the community down here in Florida, it was the couples who knew I wasn't a problem first. It was the couples that realized I was staying back and I wasn't trying to hit on all the women walking past me. And I was acting like you should in a community space. And that impressed a lot of people. And that is what you want to do. Best foot forward constantly. Thea has joined us. Figured this would be better than YouTube. I don't think my local community does any age-restricted events that I know of. Maybe one's geared towards the older crowds, but it's not a hard rule, just a disclaimer. You're talking about TOG, the old guard. I do not believe in anything. I will probably never...
I feel like age limited events have kind of really phased out. TMG was pretty big when I first joined in the 20 teens, and it started before that, I believe. But it's mostly phased out because it's really unsustainable if it isn't like under a larger, broader community, because at some point everybody's over the age limit of that group, and who takes it over? The stewardship of that group. So they tend to phase out.
What really bothers me, and I can say it on here because we're talking community, are gender bias events. Only female presenting, only females. And I understand, don't come at me with the cancel button just yet. Hear me out. I'm not saying that I don't understand why women would feel safer with other women, but there are very much consent violators that are women in this community. There are very much people who identify as a woman who can be problematic and not educated. And this almost, well, if women are just safer and we can act more in a way around fellow women, that sounds wrong out loud. Because if you want a better community, you want to be able to hold people accountable and always hold them accountable. And you shouldn't be dismissing bad behavior on gender to begin with. We should 100% hold everyone to the same standard and remove the problems. If someone's coming to an event and they're a problem, making a gender party doesn't remove the problem. It just makes you all in a place that isn't part of community. You aren't getting the full package and everyone's side to it. I think that's problematic. Alice, take it away.
Well, no, as soon as you other people, you have reduced your group. As soon as you start othering each other, you have negatively impact your group. And I think one of the biggest things, especially with gender specific things, is kink and LGBT should go roughly hand in hand in the sense that we should both support each other. As soon as you add some sort of gender rules around things, you're going to start making people that are part of the LGBTQ and kink scene very uncomfortable. Because what is your group's interpretation of female?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I have seen people do female presenting, and it's not a hatred towards that. It's just not a way to build community.
It's not.
If you want to, now I will say this as a caveat. I will say this. Something like a rope class, I could kind of see that. Same as there are all female-led yoga classes because of giggly guys with hard-ons in their tight jogging pants. That I do understand. But again, maybe, I mean, you can't stop someone from having a hard-on. But there are definitely dudes who are going to be like, you know, you should be ashamed to have a hard-on in a rope tying class. And you shouldn't be wearing pants where people can see if you do have it. You know? Let's have adult conversations about this. Let's not hide. So, and that wasn't geared towards Thea. I just realized we left your comment up all time, the whole time I was talking. Sorry, Thea. All right. So Catherine H. Shenanigan says, exactly. Just because you're out calling everyone, that doesn't mean we're comfy being called that. Yeah. And I've seen this, and it's one of the things that pissed me off. There's someone who goes around saying, well, I'm the community brat. The fuck you are. The fuck you are. That is not how that works. If anyone called themselves the community master, there'd be pitchforks. Pitchforks. Rightfully so. Why is it any different? We have got to walk. Someone's got to tap that person on the shoulder and be like, that's not how consent works. You don't get to make that claim. But there's this ego, and that ego is dangerous. And it doesn't make them a bad person. It's a bad community that's not holding that sacred. No one is the community anything because we don't vote for things. We're all equal. No one's honorific outweighs anyone else. Because if you're calling yourself a brat, that means you're giving yourself permission to do something, aren't you? Okay, we got the geek number two. Number one was busy tonight. The only times I have heard of allowing orders in if a partner or they're specifically to be an educator. That makes sense. And this is, of course, to a TNG thing. The orders in for like for their partner, I can understand that if they're not polyamorous. You gotta watch. A polyamorous couple could be a Trojan horse and be grooming. If they are monogamous, they're probably fine. If they're polyamorous, be like, hey, you can be invited. Do not hit on anyone. But that should just be the standard of everything but a play party. Do not hit on people. And I know some people are gonna be like, well, how am I gonna meet people? Go in and be a chill, cool human being. Strike up conversations. Number one way I've ever connected with people were bigger conversations and meeting in some sort of circumstance where it was comfortable to talk to people. Because when you're talking to someone, suddenly there's this attraction, and people at the end of it go, hey, you know, I'd like to stay connected. Can we hook up and have, not hook up, but can we exchange messages on FAT, Instagram? Is there somewhere you'd feel comfortable? Remember, giving out your phone number exposes you. If you're on any social media platform, you've used that number. People have seen LinkedIn come up, and LinkedIn really gives your fucking history. So be very careful who you give your number to. And I would say, hey, look, I just met you. I do want to get to know you. I don't want to give my number right now because it could out a lot of personal information because I use it for business. Would it be chill if we used a messenger, this messenger or that messenger? And that's just dealer's choice. You'll find something, or if a person wants to get to know you enough, guarantee you they will download and make a dummy profile in 5 minutes to be able to talk to you. Still with me, Alice?
Yep, still here.
Any comments on that?
Not really. I mean, I guess for me, the biggest thing is just there's an extra little bit of consideration if the older partner is from somebody that is organizing or running that group. It starts to fall into the area of potentially icky.
And I should also say, before I forget, just as a mention, when we're talking about not narrowing things down, we don't necessarily mean not narrowing things down to like age play. Because there are people who won't be necessarily comfortable. Like going to like a play party that's going to be just for edge play or age play, that makes sense because we don't want kink shaming to occur and we don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. However, if you go to a community event and it lists that those things are happening, you don't get to have a say. Your consent is reading. If you didn't read what it said the event was going to allow and was going to be partaking in there, that's on you, motherfucker. It's not on the event to make you comfortable anymore because they listed it. And with events, they should make an announcement. Like when I'm going to do some sort of edge play, I talk to the owners. Hopefully they're DMs, not dungeon masters, dungeon monitors. And I make them aware of what's going to go on. And if someone gets a little offended, oh my God, I can't believe that you would allow that. They don't belong in our spaces because they don't have to watch. They could walk away. I only play for 45 minutes to an hour. I'm told that's a long time. It feels short to me. At home, I go up to 2. Mindful Kink is in the house. I don't know why Mindful Fuck came to me. I'm sorry. It's over an hour. I'm starting to misbehave. Mindful Kink says, I'm here. This is Rosie. Thea says, we got some more comments. I don't think our community was big enough to divide by age. Fair enough. Mindful Kink, I'm going to let you go over this one, Alice.
So when I say separate, we rent the dungeon. So the TNG is its own, and so is MCAT. So are some other clubs, but we have community parties and community munches. So it sounds like it's just a bunch of small groups that share the same dungeon space, and they run it for different nights.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's not super uncommon by any means. I
want to switch over to our next topic. The dangers of FetLife and friendships. Any friendship on social media, for that part, ladies and gentlemen, can be dangerous. Like the phone number I'm talking about outing. Social media, look, I've had it where someone has used my name to try to get in someone's pants, and there's no other way to put it that way. And it's just one of those things that we want to be very kind of conscious of, you know, like when you meet someone, there's this tendency, thanks to Facebook, oh, let's be friends. calm the fuck down. I don't do one-night stands, and I don't do one-night stand friendships. Follow me first. Offer to follow someone. Hey, I'd love to get to know you better. Can I follow you? Oh, that's brilliant. The first time you sit down, you talk to someone, and you've had a conversation. I mean, it is FetLife. It's not like, the journey of your life. You're not signing up for everything for the rest of your life. But, I mean, be mindful. And Alice says this better than I do, so I'm going to let Alice come on in. The part about verifying with the person who said it.
Oh, yeah. So really quick on it. Also, with things like FetLife, don't be offended when someone says no to your friend request and tells you to follow them. Accepting that their boundary is for a follow, not a friendship, makes you a safe community person. You're respecting their boundary of what they determine to be somebody, whether or not they get on their friend list. The other part I wanted to verify is just because someone says so-and-so will vouch for me, or you see that they're a friend with so-and-so, does not mean so-and-so would actually to your face vouch for them or suggest they're a good play partner. Possibly a good, just maybe not a good play partner for you. So always be sure that when somebody tries to offer up somebody as their, to vouch them, that you actually go to that person and ask them if they do in fact vouch for that person. I have personally been the person used as like the voucher, and I have personally had people try to use other people to vouch themselves to me. And when I ask that person, they're like, no, I don't know them, or no, I would not suggest that there's someone safe to play with in that aspect. So always check.
And even with references, first off, this sounds icky to me, and this is a privacy thing. If you had a partner and you're no longer with the partner, even if you're amicably split, sometimes there's some feelings, and sometimes they just don't want to be outed to vouch for someone to make you feel better about playing with them. You got to understand, privacy's big in this lifestyle, and to expect people to just be like, oh, no, please, let me tell you how good he was in bed. Oh, he's so great. Oh, she was amazing. That's not the typical thing. That's a community thing. I've heard people like, oh, my body of work, all the people I've tied up publicly. Are we going to talk to all the people that you said that you violated their consent to? I'm just asking. Is that going to be on the menu today too? People pick and choose who they want you to talk to. Don't ask for references. Look at their feed. You want to really know a person? Look at their activity feed. See what they were doing. See what they've been up to. Go back even a year and you might find a name and then be like, well, what happened here? And if someone always talks badly about their exes, now we all break up for reasons and stop being with someone for reasons. I'm not talking about that. Saying they didn't connect, it's the way they talk about it. Oh, this dumb person. Oh, they didn't know what they had. Oh, they were so ugly, ugly, ugly. That's a red flag. What you really want to hear is, well, maybe I could have done things, but you want to hear someone who learned from the experience, in my opinion, honestly. Or just be able to say, look, they were a toxic person, but I don't like talking badly about it. Maybe one day we can talk about it, but I'm not ready to right now. You want to hear things like that. Am I wrong, Alice?
No, I think that's fair. I personally find references can be valuable, but you should never rely on them because, like you said, it's just like when you submit, oh my goodness, what do they call them for a job?
Reference letters.
Reference letter. It's just like when you submit references for a job. You're not going to pick the coworker who hated you. You're only going to pick your friends. So it's the same thing here. But I've also seen where people have made up references too, and make up references and say, no, you can't check in with them. You have to respect that you can't, because you have no real way to prove whether or not they are lying or the person just wants privacy. So that's where you need to take the time to look at them as a whole person and not just check boxes on the vetting checklist of what tasks they have to do and questions they answer.
Absolutely. And Caffeinated Shenanigans from over on TikTok said, for sure, time in does not equate experience. And experience, for the record, is actually hands-on. It is doing it. Experience is not going to a class. And a lot of people equate going to a class with experience. Unless the class itself is hands-on, which some of our classes are, That is not experience. Experience, we're actually talking about applying knowledge. And there's an important difference there. So, and Alice has said this really well. The person who has attended Munches for 10 years doesn't have a lot of experience if they just started doing rope 3 months ago. And that's what we see a lot of times. People will be like, oh, you know, I've been in the community and the lifestyle for like 10 years. Oh, yeah, what did you do in 10 years? Oh, I went to a munch once 10 years ago. And I kind of looked at that kind of like adult content for the last 10 years. What? Like, I mean, you wouldn't want someone suspending you who's like, I got ropes last week. Ask the more difficult question. How many times have you done this? I don't need to know with who. I need to know how many times, what kind of body type, especially with suspension. What kind of body types did you work with? Did anyone ever get hurt? These are the important questions. Far too often, let's just be honest, all you want to rush into saying yes because you're attracted to someone. Tag in friends. This is why having community friends is great, because you can ask them, hey, Johnny just said that he really wants to suspend me, and he's so cute and dreamy. He looks so dominant. But he said I don't need a safe word. What is that really a big thing? You need the community friend to be like, first off, Johnny sounds like a creeper. Safe words are very needed. And I know you got the hots for Johnny because he's a bad boy, but didn't you just tell me that you were done dating bad boys for this very reason?
Very true. Very true.
So I'm doing a class on Submission 101. It will be my first time personally teaching. Any suggestions on something I might not be thinking to say? Okay, Submission 101. 4 things I'll give you. Number 1, teach them that boundaries and limits are different. We chase limits. We try to push limits. It's why we have soft and hard limits. I have a whole video on this. Go check it out. Boundaries and limit. Boundaries are the thing that you don't want to go beyond. Teach people to set it up that way. Seriously, go watch the video. It's in its own video on Kink Educator on TikTok. Definitely something. Me and Alice kind of developed it too and went further with it. Great advice I can give you there. Number 2, I'm going to give you. Did I say I was going to give you 4, Alice?
4. You said 4. I've got 1. So I'll see what ones you come. I think the number 1 thing to teach is to undo the submissive has all the power. Because the reality is when you're playing, depending on what kind of play you signed up for, there is a point in time where you don't actually have power to stop it if they are unethical. So they need to take their time to have that partner earn their trust by proving that they are trustworthy before they just get into a scene where they're tied and gagged.
Yep, and everything should be negotiated, and should not negotiate a contract. Contracts are bad. They can negotiate an agreement. They can negotiate using a book of mine if they want to download it for free. You guys are all have access to it on kinkforall.com. I mean, kinkforall.site. That's KINK, number 4, ALL.site. It's even in this video's description. But a contract, no, we don't do contracts. Contracts aren't a thing. Trust, like Alice was saying, begins in negotiation. How you negotiate, how you communicate the representation. Diaper, did I ask permission? Extensive representation. If you don't do it the right way, you get shit all over you. So make sure you're extensively explaining, experience going over it. As Alice will say, when you're done asking someone, before you ask consent, before you do that, when you're done negotiating and communicating, ask the person to tell you the risks before you agree to play with them. So if they can't tell you the risks back, again, they went into you're cute, I want to play with you mode or frenzy mode. Be careful. And consent is informed. It is not enthusiastic, and it is not anything else. It is informed. Always talk about it that way. To get informed consent, use diaper. And just as a bonus, the new acronym needs, expectations, and wants. Those are a lot of things partners don't talk to each other about. What do you need in the scene versus what do you expect from the scene, and what do you want in the scene? The needs are always have to be met. The expectations are a way to drive the play, and what you want ultimately can't be guaranteed, but at least your partner knows it. If I have not vetted you in person, we aren't friends in FetLife. You can come to a munch, then I'll add you once I meet you. See, I have friends I've met on here, and I would say, like, me and Alice have never met. I wouldn't mind meeting eventually, but we have spent enough time talking where I get a good feel. for the person they are. So I don't think you have to meet someone in person necessarily.
I don't either, but also like for me, meeting you once or twice at an event in person does not is also not good enough for me to be my friend. The people that I keep on my friends list are people that I have actually really gotten to know more than a couple times at a month.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with either option, but at the end of the day, that's why you shouldn't trust FetLife Friends List as a voucher.
To add to the don't ask for references, ask local clubs if they are around. If they have been in the scene, you'll know if they've been. They'll know. DM hopefully has seen them play. Good points. That's if you have a place and a reputable place at that. But yeah, I like clubs too because a lot of clubs do background checks nowadays. So if someone suddenly has a bunch of excuses why they don't want to go to that club, you might want to ask them if they're willing to take a background check and see how they react at that. Because that could be a red flag for that, or a red flag that they've done something and they're hiding it for you. Remember, trust begins in negotiation. If they're not, look, if it's going to come up, they should just tell you. I had an incident. I think it's bullshit. This is what went on. They may have misinterpreted it. This is how I feel. At least they're being honest and opening up with you. And you definitely want to hear their side of the story, because you might hear it from the community. And let me tell you, I have had situations where people have told stories about me that were complete fiction. I think the fictional me is more interesting than the real me. I love the stories that people come up with. Let me tell you, fictional me sleeps so many more people. Love the stories they come up with, but it has nothing to do with me. So talk to the person and look in their eyes, and you're just going to have to trust your gut. If you have that little voice in the back of your head, you can't trust this person. Understand the difference between your emotions and you being single for too long versus taking care of yourself. And taking care of yourself must be the priority.
Yeah, because the other thing I want to add is, if it's just that little feeling that tells you you're not sure, just give it more time. If you just wait, chances are you will find out, was it just was it something real, or was it maybe a little bit of internalized anxiety or whatever? Just give it time, because you can always just do whatever you wanted to a little bit down the road, as opposed to doing it too soon and finding out they weren't someone that you should have been playing with for one reason or another.
I went to a rope class. It was 3 days, all day, with a guy who learned shibari in Japan. Not every instructor is the same. That's true, but also going to Japan doesn't mean they're a good instructor. And this is a great point, because we're going to talk about this, so I'm going to break right now. Is the educator actually knowledgeable? The fact that they're telling you they're from Japan could be a good or bad thing. A lot of people can go to a class. It doesn't mean they learned a lot. Let me ask you, you went to that, right? That class? Did they tell you how to negotiate? Did they tell you when you're negotiating suspension and shibari that you have to warn people that they could actually expire due to what we're about to do to them? That they could get permanent damage? They can have dislocations? They could never be the same again after doing that. Because for those who don't know, even though we're using the wrong name, I believe it's Kimbaku, is actually what we do in the States. It's pretty bondage. Shibari is actually meant to be quick bondage. When it came over here, people couldn't pronounce Kimbaku. Even I'm struggling, and I've known it for years, the right way. So shibari almost became more prevalent, and now there's a mix between it. But if you go back far enough, you realize shibari were quick ties. They weren't supposed to be pretty. So when someone's saying I'm doing shibari suspension, they really aren't. They're doing kimbaku. What are you going to say, Alice?
I was wondering, and this is mostly because I don't know, what's the difference between, do you know the difference between Hojo Jitsu and Kimbaku and shibari? Or is one of those a synonym?
No. Kimbaku is meant to be the pretty, very nice. Well, right. You know what? Look at how pretty my shibari is. That's not actually shibari. That's kimbuku. Shibari is meant to be a quicker tie. It is meant to be something that is used even for law enforcement. It is a way to confine a person, and it is meant to actually hurt a little bit.
That's what I was always taught was Hojo Jitsu. Hojo
Jitsu is quick ties in combat.
Okay.
That's the difference. It is, you are literally fighting to tie them up. Where shibari, even if you're trying to do it, someone is submitted to be tied, but you're trying to make it very quick. Police wouldn't necessarily the jiu-jitsu, because that would be a further altercation. They would try to use force to make someone comply, and then use shibari to quickly bind them. And I've watched. I love, like, one of my favorite kind of adult entertainment is to watch wrestling that turns it. You don't know who's going to get tied up. I love those types of setups. That's a favorite of mine. So I've seen people with that art style. There are other. It's bondage and jiu-jitsu and other forms of martial arts, believe it or not, go hand in hand almost a lot more than you would realize. So yeah, I did know the difference between the three of those. And it's funny because that's one of the, being around long enough, I know this, because there'll be someone who's like, that's not what shibari is, because they'll go look it up right now, and shibari will now say pretty ties. It's like the word, I'm literally going to do this, now means anything literally can mean. They took away it. Where literally used to mean you were about to do it. Someone's going to have to restrain you, or this is going to happen. Now it means the way that we used it, and that's kind of happened to shibari too. We've talked about language on this channel and how bad it gets. But educators, ask them where they got educated and watch what they're doing. Someone who taught hot wax, I didn't know hot wax that well. They were saying enough keywords that made me sound like they knew what they were doing. But there was one thing that always confused me. They put oil on the skin, and they argued this would make it easier to take the wax off. But I remember even hearing it. I'm like, oil on the skin, won't that trap heat in? And I asked, doesn't that trap heat in? No, this isn't that. Sure enough, it trapped heat in, and someone I care about got burnt. So now my mistake lives on their body as a scar because I listened to a bad educator. I should have followed up. It was hot wax. What did I care? And honestly, we just stopped using the oil after the burn because they were like, you have to use this. And we're like, yeah, whatever. And this is someone who used crock pots and didn't put in thermometers. Crock pots are notorious for having hot spots. I knew that from cooking, and I trusted someone. So be careful who you trust. There are no certifications. I have literally a funny certification in my book. It might actually be in front of me right now. Yeah, I'm going to show you something. So I was just going through this because I wanted to update that. I have a literal certification here from going to a FetCon last year. Oh no, actually 2 years ago. That don't mean shit. Actually, this might have even been long ago. It just means that 2022 means nothing. Nothing. There are no certifications. And why? Because we are not uniformed enough. We are not gathered enough. We are not a community that comes together because we're still arguing whether or not consent is really needed and should a slave had safe words. Eventually, I hope we get there, but we're not there today. So educators always ask what makes them think they can be an educator. I can't tell you how many people just think they can be an educator because they've been around for 2 years and went to 3 classes. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Thea says, willingness to vouch for someone can change too as time goes on. I've trusted people I never should have because I was inexperienced. Nothing. I'll even go further as a man. Hanging out with a dude, he seems like a cool dude. Then all of a sudden you find out he's violating consent. It happens. We don't always, you're not in a relationship with someone, you'll never know how they are in a relationship. My advice is they seem like a cool dude, but I've never dated them, so I have no idea how they're going to be because people act differently when they're dating someone.
Very true.
Yeah.
I want to jump, sorry, down. There was a really quick question. Somebody was asking how you spell Kimbaku.
K-I-N-B-A-K-U, I believe. Let me look it up. I think it's
K-I-N-B-A-K-U. I already looked it up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Kimbaku. And I always have to look it up. I looked it up recently. That's how I know how to say it now.
Yeah. And there still are even more styles out there.
So here, I'm going to hold on 1 second. This bothers my neurodivergent brain so much. The AI overview defines it as is a Japanese term often interchangeable with shibari, referring to the art of rope bondage. Oh. There are other ones. There is Hojo Kutsi, which is the historical practice.
Are you talking? So I've always pronounced it Hojo Jutsu. Is that the one you're talking about, or no?
Actually, no. You're right. Look at that. I'm so dyslexic that I can't even get words right now. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, so here we go. Anesthetics. It does say this: the core of Kimbaku involves using ropes, often natural, synthetic, to restrain a body, but emphasizes the visual beauty and artistry of the rope patterns and the overall composition. So, like, yeah, Shibari is now taken over for that. Unfortunately. And if you've been around long enough, and how do I know this? Because I have a friend who is actually Japanese in New York, who literally studied it in Japan and came over laughing and explained it to me. And I wasn't doing suspension, so they thought they could say it to me and I wouldn't be offended. He's like, "All you Americans have no idea what you're saying." I thought that was so funny. I think I spelled Shibari wrong. I always spell Shibari.
Shibari.
That's what it is. Okay. Shibari. So Shibari, which translates literally to tie or to bind, is a captivating art form. See, it wasn't an art form. This is AI, of course, and practice center of rope bondage. It originates in Japan, which is true, drawing inspiration from ancient practices of restraining prisoners. They actually say it. Credit to them. Of restraining prisoners and criminals during the medieval and Edo periods. While often associated with eroticism and sensual play, Shibari's meaning extends beyond that. Is also explored as a form of artistic expression, a tool for meditation, and a way to build connection and intimacy with a partner. That's all new, obviously. But, you know, you're around long enough, these things come and go. I told you about the books I've been reading lately. Like the JY book that I really wanted to like is so outdated, it gets a little cringy with some of the things that are said. Not on purpose. It was written in 1992. What can we expect? Cheers was on during that period and telling you to get a girl drunk to get laid. Caffeinated Shenanigans says, sit back and observe, learn about them before you friend anyone else. It's so true. Again, you don't know who people are until you know who they are. Johnny does sound like a creeper, right? And Mindful King said, yes, he did. He even showed nerve patterns and bone structures. Love to hear that. That is exactly what you want. You want that in an educator. People are always so surprised. I know the nervous system really well, and I can make human beings tap out grown people by knowing where pressure points in. Yet all these people do Shibari, all these people who do suspension couldn't tell you where nerve clusters are outside of the obvious one.
I always tell everybody, if you want the best class you can take at any college, community college near you, take an A&P course, take an anatomy and physiology course. It will benefit you so much if you are into any kind of kinky bondage type play or any kind of force manipulation play. Or not even force, just manipulating the body. Take A&P.
And I did put down how to spell Kimbaku. If you look up Shibari and Kimbaku, it basically takes you everything you need to know, to be honest, because they have become interchangeable now, and it's not like it once was.
Sorry. In my Google, I even found there's yet another name if you use a single rope.
Oh, pronounce that for me.
Ichinwa, which I just butchered. It's ICHINAWA.
See, I used to say that it's a chachi, and I was told that was wrong, and I could not remember how to say it. It's not the way you said it. I have the memory of how it's supposed to be said. Yes, that is a single tie, which is most of American bondage. Like when you're watching adult, they're not using a double column tie. They're often using a single. The benefit of a single tie, by the way, it is structurally more sound, tighter, and harder to escape. While most of the colorful ropes you all like to use for your pictures on FET is a lot easier to escape from, believe it or not. I know, I hold a record. And that is the end of our program. It has gone by. I want to thank everyone on Kink Educator for hanging out. Remember, the BDSM is not inherently sexual. It is mental. You guys have heard most of the other stuff today, so I'm going to sign off. We are going to stay live on YouTube. Come join us. We will see you on YouTube. Again, Kink Educator on YouTube. Thank you for hanging out. I didn't even realize we got that far.
Okay.
That was pretty quick.
That was awesome. I Googled how to pronounce it. It's Ichinawa.
Yes, there it is. There it is. I cannot. Oh my God, can I not say that we're going to kill this because it's showing stuff that we don't want to show. Yes, we're here, still going. Thank you all for being part of this. We're going to get the last of what we got. Robert Smith, the guy from like Never Gonna Let Me Down. I don't know why someone is obsessed with that. Attending classes is not the same as having practical experience. That is very true. Nkimbaku is what I put in there for the spelling for Thea. So we have gotten to the end of it. So how do you think it went?
I think it was a good conversation, but I think we quickly derailed from the safer community starts with you.
Well, I mean, a lot of these are going to be that way. We did.
Yeah, they are.
When you can't invite people and really have too rigid of a structure, I think and answering the live questions is so much more important. You want people to feel represented when they're showing up. They're giving you your time. I have no regrets. I think we got enough good information out there because this is really starting conversations that hopefully trickle into communities. That's the point. You educate and people are like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And they go out and they start making questions. The worst thing a predator can be asked is a question. So I think you did a fantastic job with that.
I agree. Well, and even, I mean, I know I've been in spaces where just the question of meat market is event being a meat market appropriate has stirred questions because I've met a lot of people who have never even thought about that idea before.
Yeah, the sausage and all that.
Yep.
So we can close this off. We have about 30 minutes left. We're going to invite anyone to continue asking us questions, but I do want to get into this while we have plenty of time. We don't want to go past, I'd say 8:15, so we got plenty of time to do this. All right, Alex, sell me on this. Why would the person doing the things need a safe word in that type of play? Like, sell it to me. Make me understand it.
So, me and you do have very different experience in the fact that you have done probably more established dynamic that leads to scenes, right? Where I have done more scenes without the dynamic. So I am often bottoming or topping, not doming or subbing, as in like, if I'm bottoming, I'm not going to give them a yes, sir, anything like that. And if I'm topping, I don't expect them to give me a yes, sir. I'm not going to probably use a lot of like various monikers like that. Honorifics kind of don't go there. But for me, my opinion on tops needing a safe word, and it may not apply to dominance because you've gotten a lot more into expected behavior often in an established dynamic, is kind of twofold. And it basically breaks down to them safe wording in an effort to protect the submissive or the bottom, and them safe wording for themselves to protect themselves. Now, again, when you've got an established relationship, it may not be as critical, but I have seen where bottoms are, how do I explain it? I have seen and then had conversations with tops that have read at a scene where the bottom was basically just taking the pain in a way that the top was uncomfortable with. Like, they weren't taking it to be in the scene and in the moment. They were taking it in a way that was basically like they're just okay with almost straight up taking abuse. And I know that sounds weird, but tops calling red that they're done with that scene can sometimes be valid if the bottom is not responding in ways that they know are safe. Trying to think how to explain this. It's hard when you haven't seen it. Have you ever seen it where like the bottom clearly is not doing well, but they're not calling red for themselves?
Yeah, and I would blame the dom for that. I don't think the dom. See, the whole argument here is if they called a safe word, it wouldn't matter then, would it? Because the bottom's gone. So why would they stop to call a safe word and not just act? Because I would say that that's bad doming right away. That is an inexperienced person or worse, a predator. I have seen DMs step in at clubs for that very reason. Your partner is not responsive. And there is a neurological moment where someone gets trapped in their own body. You have to understand three things, and I'm not talking to Alice, but all of you watching this at this point. Three things to understand. One, the person at the bottom who's tied up might think if they struggle at this point, it'll get worse for them. So if they just take what's going to happen, they might survive. And even if they're at a club, I know you might think, well, they wouldn't really get injured too badly at a club, would they? It's the mental aspect. They get trapped in their mind. They no longer, they might not even realize they're in public and safe because they have slipped into, as much as subspace can be heaven, it can also be hell. Too much cortisol starts taking over. People can literally shut down. Number two, they might be going through a neurological moment where they're just not feeling it anymore. You're now beating a body to a pulp because the person has disconnected so much from it and had so much stimuli, they can't even understand it anymore. It's just noise to the body. And the third thing is you just figured out your partner's on something that is affecting them. That's a substance or having a natural medical condition. All three of these should have fallen into the dom knowing to stop. And I know what you're talking about, but to me, why would they need a safe word in that moment? I guess is where I get lost. That's my disconnect. What would cause a safe word do anything in the scene?
So I think to me, and this is where it's sort of the dynamic, if you are we just do scenes or your pickup, I think it can be important, and it's not necessarily them yelling it, but them basically calling the safe word. Because I've had plenty of scenes where like I've been a top or I have been the bottom, and you step not away from the scene, but you're not in contact necessarily with them, whether you're grabbing another toy, picking up their water bottle or whatnot. So I think if they're aware, it's a way to communicate that, no, we're done. I have decided the scene has ended in one word.
Yeah, but when untying them also, like I've just said, I'm done because I'm in charge. I don't need to. I have. Remember the whole, if you don't squeeze back, we're done. I have ended play and I have said, okay, we're done. And as I'm untying someone has said to me, oh, what's going on? And they're starting to come back out of it. I explained to them. They wouldn't have heard my safe word.
Right, but what you're talking about is something you've established within an existing dynamic, the two-finger thing.
Oh, no.
Or existing partnerships.
This was what someone knew. That's what I was trying to tell the story. They had gone to subspace, and I didn't know them well enough, and this was playing, and this is why I don't really play with people I don't know. And they weren't responsive, and they were like, why are you stopping? I was having a lot of fun. I was like, I told you, if I put that, you're not going to do it. And they said, can you still play? I'm like, nah. When I get out because I think something's wrong, we have to go fully out because you weren't responsive to me. It's nothing against you. And of course, later I find out, number three, they were on a substance. And they weren't responsive. And they didn't tell me because they were doing one of them vape pens and they had weed in it. So again, me calling out my safe word would have done nothing and could have just confused something as opposed to me. And I do it very nicely. Like, I don't just go, I'm done, bitch. You know, like, I'm not like, I'm like, hey, we're done. And I just say that because I have the power in the moment to end it. You know what I mean? Like, I can't safe word and just go to the corner and deal with the person being tied up. I got to free them still. I still have responsibilities.
Well, I don't think a safe word ever means we don't do aftercare. So I think that still accounts for cleanup and aftercare, regardless of who safe worded. And yeah, there are sometimes different tactful ways to say the things ended, but I still don't personally see anything wrong with them using a safe word to say that they're ending the scene and then going into aftercare as well. Because there's also been other cases where maybe the top is having a medical emergency or an emotional or mental emergency and does very much need help. And they need you to know that they're stopping for a reason, whether that may have nothing to do with you. Because you're right, you could just walk up and say, okay, I think we're done. But if, say, you got stung by a bee and are going into anaphylaxis, that might not work anymore.
And that's this is why good doms are so rare, right? Like a good dom, to me, in my mind, a good dom. I've had high blood pressure. I do think about that as I'm getting older. What if I suddenly had a heart attack?
Yeah.
And I try to be mindful with that. And if I'm not feeling great, I do try to back off a little bit and kind of test, like, is this angina or is this the big one? So like I am very aware of that. And we do have safe color systems in place with the green, light, blue for a medical thing. And I think communication is great. I think my biggest argument is that by calling a safe word, I think there could almost be more confusion. Like me saying red and just jarring that partner out of it is one of the things I'm also a little nervous about, because now I'm jarring them out and they don't know what's happened. And because they've been taking so much and they are probably more disoriented than I certainly am, I would almost think that could be a little harmful, as opposed to going up to them and maybe just rubbing them on the back and be like, I think we're done right now. Let's cool off and calm down. And then you could talk about it naturally. I almost feel like if I, like you said, like I do a lot more dynamic stuff. So this is obviously my partner could maybe be a lot more shocked by this because I don't do pickup play. But if I was doing pickup play, let's say it was a rare time I switched and subbed to them and they suddenly went red, I would feel so suddenly guilty, and I'm bound now, more than likely.
Yeah.
Now I feel fucking awful. This person's safe. How did they save her? What am I doing? And I have anxiety. I will go into straight fucking panic, Alice. That'll be it. I'll be like, oh my God, I feel awful. I'm going to throw up, and I have to throw up. When I get too nervous, I feel like puking. I just see that being horrific for the bottom, having a top safe.
Well, that's where it's so important. That's part of being a good dom, is knowing if is being tactful and whether or not it's appropriate in that moment or not.
And I have asked. I have gone to some people in my life and asked them, and I've asked this a couple times on lives. Most people say a dom shouldn't safe word, and I don't like that either, because that does sound a little icky. Yeah. I think that they should have the power of the safe word. I have never said otherwise.
Yeah.
I think they should be empowered by it. I just don't see me personally. Let's just put this on me. I could never see myself doing that, because I can just disengage. And I have played with people that suddenly stuck their hand in my pants, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to untie you now. This is a favor for a friend, or this was a favor to you, and you kind of cross the boundary. And then even that, they get a little upset. But just calling red to their face, as a man who has dealt with people who get rejected and don't take it nicely, that terrifies me as well. Because I've dealt with a lot of rejection where me not just playing with someone ran around and questioned my orientation and told everyone that I was creepy because I didn't want to play with them. And everyone knew this person was trying so hard to play with me that this was obviously more of a revenge thing. I think there's a psychology there that I'm very nervous about.
Yeah, no, there definitely can be, which is why it's so important to explain what your safe words mean if they get used, right? Like, it's important, like, hey, okay, for the bottom, if I read, we're done, we roll into aftercare, right? Well, the top should also communicate that for red. Like, I have the safe words I use to stop, like, but I'll only read if it's like a medical emergency or I myself got triggered. Now I switch. There are certain smells and songs that if I smell or hear, I am triggered in a state where I'm no longer safe to play as a top or bottom.
And that's fair. I
right.
Like
so I would generally say, like, typically if I am topping and I will explain my safe word, it's typically going to mean I am in some way unable to continue. And that's the critical part, is that you make it really clear what that means. And regardless of who safe words at any time, you have to have a conversation where it's a building trust moment, not a blame game. And that's so critical regardless of who, and you know that.
Absolutely. I think where I get really stuck in this is completely, like I said to you, neurodivergent. It is the extra step in my mind. So
it definitely can be. And that's where it depends so much on setting what are the parameters for your safe word. And there is definitely a tact to it. If you are the top, is this tactful to use this, or would it be better just to say, hey, I think we're reaching a point where we might be done. Let's start cooling down. Because you're right. A lot of times if it's been a good scene, you're better off going with option B of just like, hey, it's time to settle down, than to actually say a safe word.
And I've thrown out my back in play. and I have cooled down the play because I can no longer literally use half of my body because a pinched nerve is swelled back up. But I don't want to jar my, and this is being the good dom in my mind. I don't want to jar my partner because if I told my partner red, they'd be like, "What the fuck is wrong? Are you okay?" And it would instant. And when you come out of subspace in that horrific way, oh, you can go right into sub drop. And I guess that's what it is to me. It's triggering. For myself, I couldn't see a circumstance where I'd have to use it. However, I will say this though, if you're in a public place, using a safe word might not be a bad idea. Using a safe word if your subs suddenly starting to act really weird and you do want to come over, that might not be a bad idea. Like, you better do that or I'm going to scream like the grape word. I can fully understand using that. In public pickup play, I will say I could see there because I have played this game in my mind. And to protect yourself, if you're not willing to untie and you want to fully disengage with someone that you think has now become very manipulative and you don't want to do it, have anything to do with them, 100% red and step back and literally let someone come over and be like, "Look, I'll untie them or you can untie them, but they just said some crazy shit to me that I'm not connected to."
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I'm more familiar with being in environments where it is pickup play with possibly somebody you met that day. I don't personally engage in pickup play as much anymore, really at all, because I've seen it be so problematic. But I think that's a big difference between you and I as well, as I'm typically coming from more of a pickup play where you may not have as in-depth conversations. And I've seen a lot of predatory people on both sides of the slash.
I require paperwork. I require permission slips even from your parents. I'm kidding, not your parents. But are you not surprised that when I came to this, I had found out one that I did like? See, I came prepared for the talk.
Yep.
All right, so here we go. I try to make sure I check in periodically regardless because I know when I'm on the opposite role, my brain doesn't like to think or even be able to say anything when I have too much stimulation. You got to, man. Your partner is high on their own supply. We were going over some of the chemicals today in one of the videos I made. It doesn't even mention adrenaline a lot of times. Adrenaline is a very powerful thing. And the sudden loss of adrenaline can make someone very tired, very sleepy. And it can, like, you suddenly get too much into the subspace where it's like loopy, too much cortisol. Cortisol is one of those things that floods your body during an accident so you don't go into terrible shock and die. This is now a moment where you might not be able to feel all of the intensity of what just happened to you. That baseball bat you thought you were doing great at taking just broke your hip because you didn't call out. That's where the dom and the check-ins come from. And doms, for fuck's sake, if your partner ever safe words out, uses yellow or red, put your fucking ego away. Listen to them. Don't shame them because it became the same thing. We teach subs never to hide how they're feeling. And it goes back to what your first example was, a top doing something they didn't want to do. To me, that's an untrustworthy top. I would never engage with something I'm not comfortable with. I might be nervous, I might be new at it, but I'm never just keep. She said she could take it. I'm just gonna keep hitting her with this cast iron grill. I see her hip coming off, but I guess she knows herself better than I.
And what I have seen is I have seen subs say, "Oh yeah, I really like that," and you've been around long enough. You can kind of tell the difference between a sub who's kind of just getting warmed up. Right. And so it's like painful pain because they're getting warmed up versus a sub who's enjoying pain versus one who's like, they're not really enjoying it. They're just taking it for either an ego boost or something. I'm asking, you've seen that, right? Where,
I had a mistress friend who swore that, and we did this thing and I didn't hold accountable, but they swore I could never make them basically tap out. So I let them go first. We started with like wax and we agreed on this thing. And the thing we were using was a paddle, one of our friends, not a paddle, a flogger, but it was like a fire hose. I have a bad back at this point too. So they got 3 wax and they were like, and I was like, okay. And I'm numb too. So it's almost unfair. And they knew that, but I was like, yeah, I could take that all night because it was heavy for them. They couldn't swing it as much as they thought they were going to be able to. I guess when you play little humans versus a bigger human, there's going to be a big difference. They learned that night. So I took one smack with it, and I didn't even go that hard. And I walked over to them, and I looked at them because they were kneeling. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm letting you wait for it." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Just give it a second. Give it a second. You're in shock." And then they suddenly went, "Ow!" And I said, "Okay, I'm up again." And then I whacked him harder a little bit. And I walked back over to him and I said, "Have I proved my point?" And they were like, "Yep, you did." And they told me later they had never thought about slowing down. And I explained to them the Batman Joker scene. Batman slams Joker's head into the ground and he explains, "I'm not going to be able to feel anything anymore." And he tries to break his palm by punching it. And Joker goes, "See, I didn't even feel that."
Yeah. Well, so what I have seen too is I have seen where pops have signed up to play with a masochist, and when they find out it's somebody who maybe for whatever reasons they're not actually masochists typically enjoy pain, they're not enjoying it, they're just taking it. They don't want to continue the scene because that's not something they as a top is comfortable doing.
Oh, certainly, because now it's either someone's ego or they're trying to get bruises, and bruises are great for play, but like we need you to be able to tell us this is something dangerous for my body. There's that moment. And if you're just trying to prove the street cred, and we have this in this scene a lot. So many people want to do suspension. They don't realize how hard it is. They try to do suspension. When I've tried a couple suspensions, I did pretty shitty in the beginning. But my partner knew we weren't doing a full suspension and all that. And I was very careful with it, but it wasn't the best. It took a long time to learn it. I'd already been doing ropes for decades. There is a lot of skill that goes, and I say it all the time, and thank God we're on YouTube. All you know how to fuck the minute you're born. It's whether you want to or not. None of you know how to tie a rope and tie a knot until someone shows you or you figure it out the hard way. So be very mindful of those things. A serious medical emergency during a session is probably one of my biggest fears. You have no idea. Oh my God. I had someone faint one time when I had them having a collar attached to a piece of rope. And they just fainted when they were tied standing up. Never fainted before that. And oh my God, that was one of the biggest panic moments of my kinky career. Do you know what made sure that that wasn't a horrible night for anyone and there was no emergency rooms and God forbid charges? I used a chest harness as a backup because that's who I am as a top and a dom. That's what I meant, Alice, is that a good top and dom doesn't trust you. They build in safety. So to me, if someone is just taking it, like you said, if I think that they're just crying and it doesn't look like scene crying, it doesn't look therapeutic.
You didn't agree to a cathartic scene.
Yeah. I'm like, no, I'm out. Because we do doms, good doms. And let me tell you, one of the biggest reasons between me and you, I don't like playing in events that are very populated. I get blown up later and people start wanting to play with me suddenly. And I kind of like people not trying to use me because I'm demisexual. I'm not just, there's so many doms out there that are kink dispensers that want to be kink dispensers. I like playing with someone I know, where the territory is familiar, where I enjoy playing with it. Like I'm polyamory. I haven't played with anyone else except for my partner in years at this point because I haven't found the connection of people the right way. It's not that I don't want to. At first, I have an amazing connection with my partner. But secondary, like a lot of the people who come around, they don't know. They're not serious. They're sweaty. They want sex. If I play with someone else right now, my goal isn't to get laid. I'm attractive enough to getting laid isn't a problem. You know, anyone can get laid. I want kink. I want certain things in that regard. I want deep, meaningful connections.
I feel you. I have long pretty much put up my pick-up play harness, for lack of a different term. And yeah, it can be really hard out there to try and find people who just want to engage in kink for the sake of kink while also creating a deeper dynamic that just pass your safety standards and your ethics standards. It can be hard out there.
And no shame to anyone who does pick up play. It is not for me, demisexual. It If you don't understand demisexual, I understand why you don't understand the comment. If you know demisexual, you know exactly what I just said, and fully respect it. Being demisexual and kinky,
yeah. Well, and for that's part of it too. As I've grown up, I've become more of a demisexual person. I'm also a demisexual person with some traumatic history that causes certain kinds of trust issues. I just don't have an interest in putting myself in the space of pickup play.
And
it's not for me anymore.
Here's a really good reference point for you to understand what I'm saying. Most of you eat meat. You have a full menu when you go to the restaurant, right? Being kinky means I'm now on the vegetarian menu. Being demisexual means I'm now officially in the vegan menu. I've got two choices. That's what it's like. That is what it's like. All right. So this is exactly why our club uses green, yellow, red. And it's up on the side of the wall with multiple places. And the DM can also watch this. Now, I do know some people who do green, yellow, red, and at the clubs have Mayday. Mayday is a word you should never use as your safe word, because Mayday is meant this person's being predatory. They're not listening to red. A good DM is starting to walk over to you the minute red is called. So even if that Dom decided not to, they're going to see the DM coming over and cut their losses. This is why volume must be down at play spaces, and loud volume are problematic. Good that your club does that. Yes, my Dom did a scene and a huge paddle involved. He came to my side and said, wait a minute, and let me process. I didn't feel it at first, and then I definitely did, LOL. I was okay because of the check-in. Exactly. The check-in is also a grounding moment. It's the take a deep breath. This isn't over. It's going to get worse, but I'm going to be with you for the entire time. And you could even do that a little threatening. Oh, you can take more, you bad little girl. That's your encouragement moment. Check-ins don't have to be like, oh my God, did I hit you too hard? Oh shit, did I break you? That's only for the first scene. Once you realize that your partner is not made of glass, and as Alice would say, tissue paper, you can continue to play. I think we've reached the end of it, Alice. I think we've gotten every comment made. We're at 2 hours. Let me do the outro, and then we'll hang out for a few minutes after. I want to thank everyone who came onto this one. The viewership on YouTube has been very strong today. I am so happy to see you guys all coming in. I think I looked up at one point, we had as many as 8 people in the room. I know I'm a long-winded person, and these go a long time, but there's a lot to talk about. Go read one of the other books. It's like at least 7 hours, so I got you out in 2. BDSM is not inherently sexual. It is mental. We communicate, we negotiate, we conversate about things like our play profiles, safety protocols, risk profiles, medical history, aftercare needs, and more. And by using the new acronym, we can find out from our partners their needs, expectations, and wants in a scene and a dynamic. And once we've installed garage time into our dynamic, where we can mechanically fix and fine-tune our dynamics in any way we need to, and after obtaining informed consent using diaper, did I ask permission extensively with representation and get the thumbs up, and my fingers are broken so they don't work as fast as they used to, can we ask for that informed consent? But as Alice would say, make sure that they can repeat the risks of the play that you're asking for consent, so you know that they paid attention to it. And only then, with consent empowering and earned, can we mix the submission and dominance into our dynamic play and or one-time scene, and all of us will be rewarded. Any final closing notes, Alice, before we close out on this?
Not tonight.
All right. Well,
be kinky.
Yeah, and let's all make a better community by using our voices when we see the things that are wrong, and encouraging people to take deeper looks at their behaviors in community spaces. Remember, you don't have to trust someone just because they say they have knowledge. They always have to prove they know what they're talking about. Stay kinky, everybody.